Okay.
Hello, and welcome to the Expat View, where we're all about knowing and growing expat women and their families. I'm Renee Letterman in Houston, from our living room to yours. Today we have a very special guest, Stacey Laves-khalifa. She's a counselor at the Audi International School here in Houston, and she's going to be talking to us about some of her experiences and some of her expertise that she offers her students. Welcome, Stacey.
Thank you.
Stacey, would you talk to us about the transition that you see, or some of the challenges that you see in the students when they move from one culture to another?
Yeah, children when they're coming, sometimes they haven't had any closure with moving from another country. And so when they come, they still have issues of loss and not being able to say goodbye. And then it's very difficult as far as connecting with a new culture, coming to a new school, having a new home. Often they're still living in a hotel for 2 or 3 weeks when they get here. Their boxes and their furniture arrive 2 or 3 months later. So there's a lot of transition, and often their fathers have already moved here. They're already on business trips, so they're with their mother, who might not speak the language, who doesn't know where around the city. So there's a lot of instability. So when they come to our school, we're real conscious of that.
Wow. What are some things that you do to help them integrate, to make that transition smooth?
Okay. About 3 years ago, well, actually 5 years ago, I attended a couple of conferences at FIGT, and another counselor and I put together a program in the primary for students by grade level, to help them come into the school. So we have like a welcoming group where we get together with the kids and talk with them about coming to the school, some of the things that have helped them, some of the things they're having difficulty with. It's also helping us to determine if there's kids that need more help beyond the group, to help them adapt. At the same time, pretty much the same week, we run a group for parents. It's called a brown bag luncheon. So the parents come in and they share their feelings and what's going on with their children. We give them resources in the community to help them kind of adjust to that as well. And they get to know the counselors in the school, so they have someone they can bounce things off of. At the end of the year, we do a goodbye group. We're getting ready to do that pretty soon. And it's also a group to help children with closure, being able to say goodbye, talk about what you do to, what kind of closure can you do at goodbye parties with your friends, how to stay connected through the internet. The internet is a great thing to have nowadays, because children can really use Skype and communicate and still stay connected with their schools and their teachers and their groups of friends.
So do you find that program very helpful?
Very helpful. In fact, our teachers, we do pretty much a yearly program to help teachers stay abreast of TCK issues and adjustment, and trying to keep them focused on how to help children as well.
So are there any, if you have tips to give about making the transition easy for families, what would that be?
Well, I do this a lot with parents as they're leaving the school, that when a child is getting ready to leave, they need to take at least one thing in their suitcase that will help them to adjust when they go. For a younger child, it might be a security blanket, an animal, a stuffed animal, a poster. For older children, often it's a book of pictures, a yearbook. Make sure that as soon as they get to where they're going, they can set up a laptop and communicate with people and stay connected. It's very, very difficult when they're leaving and when they're coming, especially kids when they're coming from Europe. One of the big things in Europe, there is public transportation. It's easy to get on a bus or a metro and go anywhere. And here it's very difficult for teenagers.
So what about, do you see any difference in the younger children and the older children in terms of making the adjustment?
Yeah, there's a huge difference. Yeah, when an older child knows that they're leaving or going to another country, it's more difficult because the locus of control, the locus of support shifts from primary school years to adolescent years. And so as you become an adolescent, your peer group becomes your support group. And so when they know they're leaving, then they feel like their roots have been pulled away. And it's much more difficult for them to accept the change, to adapt to the new change. They take longer to really kind of fit in, to belong. They're very self-conscious about being judged by others, wanting to be part of the group. And they have much more difficulty with that.
I like those tips, though. I would imagine that taking something that's really special in the suitcase, because boxes are left behind, I would imagine that could be very healing, and it could certainly soften the loss and the grief that the students feel. So the younger children, but if you had to say that one group adjusted better or easier, would you say that would be the younger ones?
It would be the younger ones, but it just depends on the personality of the child, the support they have from home, if they're more extroverted versus introverted. What kind of preparations have taken place as they're getting ready to leave. Some parents are so overwhelmed with just packing and getting things to go, they don't have time to have a goodbye party with their friends, a farewell party, and it's really, really important for closure.
Right. So I really like what Stacey is saying about closure. I think that's really important. Particularly, Stacey has given us some really, really good tips on making the transition as smoothly as possible. So I'm going to just wrap it up by, is there anything else that you'd like to say before we wrap this up that would be helpful to families and to students?
I think we look for things that are called red flags with students, and so if parents are starting to notice that their child are having difficulty sleeping, their appetite's changing, they can't concentrate, they're sluggish, I think that it's important to not wait for a child they think the child's going to be able to make it on their own. I think it's important to seek a professional help in the school system or outside of the school so that the child can integrate as quickly as possible. The longer you wait, the more difficult it is, and then you end up having other issues that compound it.
I really like what Stacey has to say about the red flags and having the closure. All of that's really important. What I'd also like to tell you about Stacey is that she has a private practice, and at the end of the show we're going to have credits, and in the credits her information will be there. So I know that you're going to be watching us from around the world. I think she also, do you Skype?
I don't really Skype with clients,
okay.
no.
Okay.
But I have a website they can come to.
Okay, there's a website. At any rate, thank you so much for joining us today, and I want to thank Stacey again. I'm Renee Letterman from Our Living Room to Yours in Houston, Texas, and I'd like to invite you to join to go to our website at www.theexpatview.com and to visit our Facebook page. Thank you.